Today's podcast is sponsored by Half Step Equestrian, where you can get your technical multi-purpose clothing for the male rider. Hope you enjoy this interview with Ashley as much as I did. Peace out.
No 13-year-old boy should be in an audition, boy or girl should be in an audition and being told, oh, you're too skinny. You're not good looking enough for the part. In terms of like my acting career, like that is by far the proudest thing like I've ever done.
This incredible experience one that you'll never forget.
Like in front of me, you had Channing Tatum, Halle Berry, Colin Firth.
Wow, I can imagine. It's almost like your dream is hanging in front of you, but you can't quite grab it yet. Good clap.
That was a nice clap. I like that.
Right, welcome to episode 3 of Only Tools and Horses. Here I'm joined by my best mate, business owner, Ashley Howells.
It's me. It's like joined by. I'm with you every time.
You're with me 24/7.
Yeah, it's just me and you this time, but I'm always here.
How you doing, buddy?
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, how's your week been?
Yeah, mate, I've seen you for most of it. It's just been
you say
stressful.
That. We haven't actually seen each other that much this week.
Oh, no, to be fair, I was up in Mawson for the beginning of it, and then we came back and then we did all the work stuff we need to get done.
Literally.
Rolling over with
and then I was self-isolating for 2 days.
You're slapping the sofa. We love us slapping the sofa. Everyone that's listening to this is just like... But yeah, we've been sort of working and just sort of chilling this week and getting some stuff done. We've done a lot more with the first episode went out this week, and that's had some great reactions.
Yeah, great feedback, haven't we? It's been really,
you've had
really
loads
nice.
of people message you from how
definitely
it's affected them. The topics that you broached and being so vulnerable and open has really seemed to help quite a few people. So
it's been fantastic. It's been really nice. So I just want to thank everyone for all the feedback that we got from it. It's been brilliant, really. But I guess today is the first time we sat down since the news of going back into lockdown.
Oh mate, don't. It's painful.
Yeah,
it is so painful.
I know.
Because now there's no gym.
Yeah, that's the problem, isn't it? Like first thing, gym. Crap.
Yeah, I mean that is. It's interesting. There's one of the gym managers was saying that I was the third. It was actually the second. Apparently, it's the second cleanest sector, whatever part it comes under in the whole of the UK. But it's one of those ones where everyone has a lot more respect in there because they know how important that is for people's mental health.
Exactly.
So I could go into this on and on and on.
Be on this topic for ages.
Yeah, it's hopefully we're out of it by the 2nd of December. But I have a sneaky suspicion that we'll still be in it by January.
Yeah, unfortunately. But I guess we'll just have to deal with it the best we can and just hopefully that not too many people struggle during a hard time again, because especially during winter, it's going to be a real hard time for a lot of people not being able to get outside and everything.
No, exactly. But at least we can still do this because unfortunately, as much as I'd love to self-isolate away from you, you come under business. So we still do this and we can still create content and guests that we have lined up to speak to. We've already organised through Zoom. So there should be plenty of content coming on the Half Step account, and plus in that time we will launch the clothing
exactly.
right in the middle of lockdown.
Exactly.
And a part of me was like, I don't know if that's a bad thing or if that's a good thing, but regardless, we're going to launch. So I'm looking forward to that. So we're getting there, but it's coming.
Yeah, exactly. And hopefully the podcast can give some form of entertainment during lockdown for people and keep them a bit preoccupied. Anyway, Ash, tell us a little bit about yourself. Like, obviously, we touched a little bit in episode 1 when you were interviewing me about how we connected through secondary school. But from then on, where have you then gone and what have you done? And just tell us a little bit about
my whole life.
Yeah, exactly.
Just life.
Yeah, summary about your whole life and where you are now.
This whole thing is such a strange one because I don't understand why anyone wants to listen to me come into this industry, but it's a strange feeling being right here from where I've gone through to be where I am. So without sort of repeating what we'd already discussed and letting our new audience and people that are getting in touch with us and listening just listen to the same stuff. Obviously we met through school, and then I've studied, trained, wanted to be an actor since I was 7 or 8. I was really, really young, and I was lucky enough to get signed by an agency when I was quite young. So it was almost installed in me like that's what you're going to do. So I very much followed the performing arts path for a long while. Like that is like tunnel vision. This is where I'll end up. So when we was at secondary school, I got to about year 9, then left, and then went and studied at the Brit School. And I was there for 4 years, studied theatre, and then went on. I didn't immediately go and go to drama school afterwards. I think I had a lot of rejection from drama school. And I think I took 2 years out. And I didn't do a huge amount in that time. That was quite a difficult time. I didn't really do too much. And then it was lucky enough that I took a Cert HE course with East 15, and then it was only like a year. So it's not like a full degree. It's like a certificate of higher education. Yep. But to me, like that was like a taster of drama school. And then I did that for a year. Absolutely loved it. But there was a part of me that was like, I could not do another 3 years at drama school. Like I think as well, I was slowly not getting older. Like I'm still exceptionally young, but I got to that mentality of like, well, now I'm going to have to audition for like another 2-3 years, maybe still not get in, then get in at maybe like 25, 26, and then a further 3 years, and then come out at 28, completely broke, in debt, with no roles to go to, and no backup plan for a job. So finished East 15, and then again was sort of back to square one, which sort of, it was almost like a graph of just me constantly being like emotionally up and down, and then came back to my hometown, and then didn't have any plans. Set up a talent agency, ended that at some point.
I think that's quite a big subject for us to definitely touch on, is that through your experiences within the acting industry, you then set up a talent agency because from your own experiences, you felt that actors aren't really looked after. So just to like broaden the subject on that, what did you find from the acting industry that then made you want to set up the talent agency?
I've had some amazing agents that I get on really well with, but I've had years and years of rejection, and you start looking into a point where you start going, why is this? Like, yeah, there is a level of luck, right place, right time.
Of course, like everything really, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Like knowing the right people, and there's stuff like, what can I do to improve? And one of the things was agencies. Like I found personally that, especially like since owning the agency or running the agency, that there is almost like a method of agenting, and it's not done by all agents, but a majority of them will take hundreds of clients on their books, and they will have all of these clients per one agent, right? And so you have the producer will send out a casting call to like Spotlight, and Spotlight is like the main thing, like Yellow Pages for actors. Okay, like everyone's in the dictionary of Spotlight. And like casting directors can go in there, actors can, like, you have to do certain things. You can get a Spotlight account. It's where you get seen. And like one agent would have loads of clients and would see a role come through and just like throw everyone at it. Like it's ridiculous. Like, so you was essentially competing against people that you weren't even right for the role.
No.
Like there's a time, I can't remember the exact, so I'm not going to like go into it too much, but there was an audition that I think my brother went to, and he was sitting in the waiting room and he was surrounded by a bunch of Asian lads that were his age, and he was looking around like, oh, who are you here for? And he's like, I'm here for the role of like Alex.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, there's clearly a mix up here.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So you get to points where you're sitting there and you're like, why do I bother? So, I don't know where I originally went. I sort of went off in a tangent
a little bit, but
yeah. What was it originally? What did I see in the agency?
No, why you started the agency?
Why I started, I didn't like that method of treating clients, because I felt like I had been in that situation for so long. So
almost overlooked in a way, and you're just treated as a group rather than an individual.
Yeah, no, mate, massively so. Like you are people don't understand how hard it is to train as an actor, like what you give to it. And there's a lot of times you get looked at on sets, on stage productions where you're sort of below people. And I just wanted to own something or run something that I could look at these artists as a human being instead of just a tool. Yeah, there is the whole you're only a walking, talking prop. You're only just a background figure. You only do this, you only do that. But without these cogs in the clock, it doesn't run. And I just got tired of seeing actors getting treated like rubbish. And it was just after I came back from East 15 and I'd made loads of great friends there and saw how some of them started to get treated, like in the industry, having been already in the professional world beforehand. Like some of these people like hadn't gone further than drama school, like yet. Some of them have since gone on to do some amazing things, but I wanted to give them the opportunity rather than them having. My original fear was coming out of drama school and then having no work and having sitting there going, I don't know what I'm doing. I wanted to be in a situation where I could help my friends and say, look, you're exceptionally talented. Let's try and
of course help you and point you in
the
the
right
right
direction. Be a bit controversial, but yeah.
It's very similar because the last 2 episodes we've touched on the subject of sort of the mentoring and support for young riders, and it's no different really what you're saying about why you want to set up the agency. It was to try and offer the best support for that actor at that time, and it seems to be a common theme in pretty much every industry. Unless you're the top person within your age group at that certain time, you don't get that support that you actually need to set up. Like we've talked about future things that we want to do on mentoring and supporting people on the come up, because that's when you need the help. And it seems to be in most industries that it's just not there.
No, it does. It feels very cliquey. And it's a shame because I feel like it, like you say, it is a common theme that runs within a lot of industries. Rightly so, yeah, okay, it comes down to who you know. And I can understand that. Like if I had a son and I was a big successful producer and I had the ability to put my child in something like that and that was their dream, like, why wouldn't you do that? Like I understand that, but it just comes back to the people at the bottom keep getting forgotten about. Of course.
But then like when we were speaking to Annie with her dad and her uncle and aunt, she was, from her perception, she had quite a lot of opportunities, but she still needed to earn those opportunities at the same time. So yes, like from what you're saying, but at the same time, people need to earn those opportunities. And it's when they're not the best actor, but because their dad is XYZ, they then get that role. And that's where it's just so unfair.
Yeah, I think that's the difficult point. And I definitely saw a few times was people would get roles because like it's their inner circle. They know the casting director. Their dad or mum was ABC, so all of a sudden it's more important that they get the role because it's like the gravitas that comes to that, and it's just demoralizing, mate. Like it just gets to a point where you think, well, why do I fucking try? Like what is the point?
Then you get more setbacks than from everything you're doing, and you're putting so much in and getting so little out. It's demoralizing.
Yeah, exactly.
It really is.
But like you said with Annie, like that is okay. That is okay to be in a situation where I'm not going to sit and then slag off everyone that has an opportunity. Like if you are gifted in this life to have a head start above other people, that is absolutely fine. Just recognize you have that head start and don't use it with no hard work behind it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what infuriates me. Seeing people go, well, I've got it because my dad's so and so. Exactly. Like if I can, and I've seen it on the other side, people with that head start who graft, like I mean graft, and you look at them and you go, fair play.
And almost they use it in the opposite way. They use it as motivation so that they go, I'm doing it because of who I am, not because of who my dad or mum is, rather than like some people live off their dad and mum and like, oh, my dad and mum is XYZ, so I've got the head start. Whereas again, with Annie, she was like, I didn't want people to think of me as getting these opportunities because of who my dad or uncle or aunt is.
And I imagine that could also be just as difficult. Like if you was to completely role reverse it, like that could be just as difficult as not having those head starts in life, because then you're already defined by those opportunities you already have. And that doesn't, it goes back to literally what we said right in the first one, is being put into a box and then trying to rebel out of that. Like, I wish I knew the names of this, but it was something, there was a TV show, and I remember Lloyd being my brother, but he said something about, oh yeah, did you know that so-and-so is his dad? And I was like, no way. Like, I've been watching this guy for ages, but yeah, he didn't want to do this because he didn't want to be associated with his dad. I will find the name of that, but it's the complete role reversal.
Exactly, and it probably adds more pressure and stress to them when they're trying to get out of their dad or mum's name in a way. So again, like you say, it's how they firstly use it, and secondly, how they react to the situations.
And it's interesting, like that whole ethos that we're talking about, like keeping it like within your small circles. I found that as an agent. I mean, I was only running the agency for 12 months, and like I grafted with that, like day in, day out. Like my dad and I, we put in so much money and time and effort and energy, and like we were soul crushed like when it didn't work out. Like the only good thing about that is I managed to secure, I think, the majority of our clients with an amazing agent that we'd been partnered with.
Fantastic.
So it was almost like a little bit of a martyr case. Like the company will go down, but I'll make sure the lifeboats are out there for the clients.
Of course.
So I was happy with that, but it was one of the things that I found in having been an agent for that short period of time is the castings come through and they just automatically go to like Cat A agents, like top agents, and then they get filtered down. And there is never a situation where I felt that smaller agencies could grow.
Yeah.
So again, it goes to that point of, why am I trying? Like, am I just going to stay? It all goes back to who knows who. So hopefully with what we're doing with Half Step, it breaks that a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
So like, even though I wasn't born in this industry, no. I've just sort of been picked up and dropped into it. Hopefully I can use that fuel and that drive to do what we're doing.
The learning experiences that you've taken from that sort of acting agency, trying to offer more support, is something that we want to use and sort of put into Half Step eventually, where we're growing the business and everything. So like you say, it's all these little learning experiences that you've had along the way have put you in the position that you're in now, which is enabling us to then try and do something with Half Step along the lines to help more people, really.
Exactly.
So yeah, again, really, tell us a little bit more about your experiences in the TV and film industry, like, because I guess we've talked about it before, isn't it? You were the first episode of the podcast, you were quite nervous about being on camera because it's the first time you're representing yourself rather than normally you're playing a character, aren't you?
Mate, it's weird to talk as myself because one, I'm still like, why does anyone want to listen to this? Or why does silly old me, how are we doing? Do you know what I mean? Like, what's the point? But it's different for an actor who's like constantly like trained to be other people or play other roles to then go completely different to that. But yeah, my experience in the industry was really young. Like I haven't actually got work which I could really say, damn, I was like that. I was the man in that. But one piece of beautiful work called Ollie. Big up the Ollie Foundation.
By the producers that we get today.
Again, to be fair, that still comes back to who you know. So exactly. The joy of that. It just happened to be that you live down the road, so we still work with each other. That was my proudest bit of work. In all honesty, was the work that we did for the Ollie Foundation. It was one of the main sort of bit for me, like that I've actually managed to speak as a role and be focused as sort of a bit more centre camera. But that in particular, like that was for a suicide awareness foundation, and
check the video out, guys, if you can, because it's a fantastic video.
They did an amazing job on it.
Producers and brilliant acting by Ashley.
Yeah, the whole cast was amazing, and I mean, I didn't sort of hear too much of the comments that were made from it, but like Stephen Fry was retweeting it. That guy from Celebs Go Dating, the receptionist, Tom, I think his name, he was retweeting.
It goes back like to what we said, even if it helped one person in that time.
And it did. It really did.
And then that's all you can ask for, isn't it?
I did get filtered information like of how much it had touched people, and it had caused people to actually realise the situation they was in and the severity of it and ask for help. And that was the biggest point of it, was to ask for help before it's too late.
Yeah, raise awareness of it at that
time.
Wasn't it?
So in terms of like my acting career, like that is by far the proudest thing like I've ever done. I've done extra work. That's an interesting conversation. It's only just being an extra. Like I've been on numerous film sets and TV sets, and you meet some amazing people, and you meet people that you don't. I'll try and be somewhat careful what I say. Some people that you don't expect to be the way they are.
I can imagine disappoint you in a way.
Yeah. I mean, so the first big thing that I sort of had for extra work was Kingsman: The Golden Circle, the second one. And I went for my costume fitting at Warner Brothers Studios, and the guy that was fitting me, he just took a liking to me. Like, and he was a nice bloke, and you could tell like he'd been in the industry for a long time. And he was trying to fit a guy in this suit. He fell in love with this suit apparently, and he couldn't fit someone in it all day. And he come to me, so he was like, "Oh my god, the suit fits you perfectly. I want this in shot, fantastic." So I knew I was like, I'm gonna get a bit featured. Like, so with extra work, you get like extras that are just like half a mile in the background and you don't see them. Then you get featured extras where you'll either get a few lines here and there, or you do an action or something that narrates the scene and helps the main cast continue their story. So I thought I'd get featured potentially, but it was the first time I'd ever done anything. We was filming up in Greenwich by where like the docks is, and
I know.
It's like a big hall. I can't remember what it's called, but it was the ending of Kingsman, where like in front of me you had Channing Tatum, Halle Berry, Colin Firth, Taron Egerton over there. He was getting married. Sorry if you've not seen the film, spoil it, but come on. It was released a few years ago. So actually, I'm not sorry. It's your own fault you've not seen it. But that was the first big thing I did. I just remember being on set, mate, like, wow, like
this incredible experience that one that you'll never forget. Really.
No, exactly. But at the same time, it was quite upsetting. Like, I was in a room with like hundreds of extras and these amazing actors, and I remember just looking around being like, I'm so close to achieving this, but yet so far away.
Yeah.
And I came away so happy, but so deflated at the same time.
Yeah, I can imagine. It's almost like your dream is hanging in front of you, but you can't quite grab it yet because you haven't got that opportunity.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, probably there was an element as an extra, you work like crazy hours, and again, you sort of do get treated a little bit like cattle. So I mean, I was up at like 3 a.m, then you sort of get to set. They give you like somewhat, the food can be decent. I mean, I've had some amazing bits on set, but then sometimes it's like, what's the even point? And I think I was there from like 3 a.m, and then I didn't get home till 11 in the evening, 11:30 that day.
Wow, it's long days on set.
Yeah,
really
I mean, like
days.
you think you can't like continuity, you can't move, you've got to stay in that position. Like, yeah, we're going to go from this angle so the rest of the church can like move out, and I'm still sitting there going,
knackered. Yeah, exactly.
But that was the first one that I've been on there. So to me, like that was just a great experience. But the more sort of extra roles I got,
the more, I guess, in a way, it kind of puts you off it in a way, does it?
Oh, mate, I don't claim to be an actor anymore. Like I love acting, and I always my brother's an actor, and to me, like he is the best actor like I've ever seen. Like I've got favourites, but when you know someone and their ability, like he is an amazing actor, and I just enjoy watching him perform.
And in a way, this is a question that I've always wanted to ask you. Really, I was quite lucky. Obviously, I did riding, and my brother played football. Yeah. How did you find it? Obviously, for people that don't know, your brother was Rude Routh in Horrid Henry. How did you find that at that point when you were trying to make it as an actor and your brother got a really big role? Obviously, you must be so proud of him because he had that opportunity, but it must have been so hard at the same time because you were like, I wish I had that opportunity to do it as well, because obviously I know what a fantastic actor you are. Yeah. You know, just you playing around doing voices, like Reggie or Ronnie Cray, and
mate, that's the voices. Voices. Yeah. So,
but it must have been really hard to see your brother doing so well and being like, yeah, I'm proud, but also there must have been such a like element of jealousy there as well.
So, Lloyd's the first bit of actual professional work he got was a short film called Waving at Trains, and it was starring Pete Postlethwaite. Now Lloyd was playing Pete Postlethwaite's younger self. Pete Postlethwaite is one of the greats. Like, I mean, you get top tier actors, then you get legendary status.
Right, okay.
And if I'm correct in believing, it was Pete Postlethwaite's last performance before he passed away. He passed away a fair few years ago now. But that is mental. Like, imagine being like, to say like I was the last person to act alongside that. I mean, aside from that, that was the first proper gig that Lloyd got, and we was quite young at that time. And I think that was the first time. Like, I was a little bit, it came through. Like, I got into the acting first, and Lloyd was picked up by the same agency that I was
because
with.
of you.
Well, because of me, but Lloyd was just,
of course.
Lloyd is like the funniest, quickest person I know.
Yeah.
So he was going off and doing his stuff, and he was getting work. And there was an element you go. There is, I wouldn't call it jealousy, it's envy. Like, I wish that I had those opportunities, but I was so proud that he got them.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that was only really on the first one, but that was because it was the first professional gig that between either of us we'd actually secured.
Right, yes.
Horrid Henry came, I think, a few years later, and I was just over the moon for him, mate. Like, that. For me, there was an element of like, fucking go kick some ass. Like, that's exactly what
You've got the opportunity now. Grab it with both hands. And show
exactly.
what an amazing actor you are.
Like, I remember going with Mum and seeing him film like the last scene.
Wow.
Which is really bizarre because they usually in film world they don't film in order.
Right. Okay.
And they actually filmed this right in order, and it was like 2 Ferraris at the back, and they was doing this music video, and very sort of young child audience, but. It was, again, the first time where I was like, damn, like, you're doing good. Exactly. It was utter pride. But there was good competition.
Of course.
But also at the same time, it took me a while mentally to realise that we look very different.
Yeah.
So I will never get put up for the same sort of roles.
So although you're in the same industry, there isn't actually a competition because you're never competing against each other for the same role.
Yeah, I think that took me a little while to understand.
But you would have been quite young at that time when your brother was experiencing that sort of opportunity. So at that time, it's really difficult to understand. Whereas now, like, I know how proud you are of him. He's an amazing actor, and every time I see him, he makes me laugh.
He's the funniest person. He's amazing.
So, but like I say, at that time in your life, it's really difficult to be able to go, okay, yeah.
Yeah, and like I say, there's so much pressure had been put on, actually by myself, like from such a young age, that I didn't have that rational thinking.
No, of course.
Like, I was only 12, 13, 14. Like, I was young. Like, and in my head, like, I'm thinking, I'm gonna do this. Like, this is people. They're being kids. They're playing like young teenagers. But I already know what I'm doing. It's too much pressure for such like a young lad. Like, and that I think was the start of the downfall of the acting career. Like, I will never rule it out. Like,
no.
I have a passion for it, maybe one day, but right now,
sometimes you almost have to fall out of love with it to fall back in love with it in a way.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? It goes back to what you said about horse riding was a hobby and then it became a career. I felt that change.
Yeah.
Like, it was very much a hobby.
And I think it's very hard for people to understand what a change that is unless you've experienced it.
Yeah.
And I think, especially like I said in that episode, you don't really realise it either. It kind of just happens. But then instead of having this love and passion, you just kind of lose it. And it's difficult, to understand. I didn't really understand it. So again, it must have been, it probably happened a lot earlier for you in your acting career than it did for me. I was 17, 18 when I started thinking that horse is a career for me. Whereas with you, you're going for roles at such a young age that you've had pressure and stress from such a young age. That must have been so hard to handle.
I think I can't pinpoint. It wasn't an exact moment that I lost that hobby love for it. No 13-year-old boy should be in an audition. Boy or girl should be in an audition and being told, "Oh, you're too skinny. You're not good looking enough for the part." Like, from that age, that sticks with you.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I've built like a mental resilience, and I don't know where it's come from. I think it was because I saw the end goal.
Yeah.
So every rejection
was motivation,
was a strengthening aspect. Like, this is good. This is happening for a reason. Yeah. So I should have lost a passion for it at such a younger age because I wasn't doing it for fun. I was thrown into it as a professional straight away. Yeah. And I was expecting to be a professional, but I was never making it. I was getting close and then not getting close enough. But I think when I really fell out of love with it was when I came back and I was having to do extra work to pick up the money, and I was driving all over the country and like having no social life, and just seeing how the people at the bottom got treated. I think after the years of rejection, like that's when it started to take its toll.
Yeah,
I remember being on a set. It's okay because I can't actually name them because I can't remember myself. But I know the main character. She was, I think she was Storm in X-Men or something like that, and it had the guy from Green Streets who was the governor, I think it was. What's the main one?
I know who you mean. Yes. Cracking film.
He's in Mad Men. Yeah, it's brilliant. So I if you can use that as a quiz and figure out which TV show I'm on about, be my guest. I'm not in the industry anymore, so this is sort of at your own fate. But there was a supporting actress, and there was a scene in a nightclub in Croydon that they were filming, and I was brought in to play. Or we was gonna kiss, and it was part of the scene where she's, I think, like 28, 29, a little bit older. And that was half of like the comical gag of it. And when you go onto a set, people know what you're doing because like you have the ADs, you have runners. They're saying, right, can we have you to set? And people go like, what are you doing? I'm like, I've been called to do ABC. And so yeah, I was meant to kiss her in the middle of this dance floor. And I just remember like everyone lining up outside for the runners to bring him in, and her being like, "Yeah, I don't want to kiss him," like publicly, like looked me up and down, was like, "I don't want to do that. I'm too shy." But then I hear her going, "No, yeah, he's not good looking enough," all this sort of shit, and I'm going, "Okay, like it's a job, like you get on and do it,
of course."
And that to this day was probably the most humiliated I've ever been, because then they filmed this scene, right? Get this. They filmed this scene with hundreds of extras, and then she went on to do the scene and have the kiss. Bear in mind, she wasn't shy.
Yeah.
She picked one of the ADs who, through the grapevines, apparently she'd been sleeping with. So she just jumped on and like had a whale of a time. Granted, I don't need to have validation from you.
No.
But then I've got hundreds of people going, aren't you supposed to be him? Why are you not doing it? And I'm still trying to be in this scene, like getting away. And mate, I was so professional. Didn't kick off. I think I kicked off to the agency a little bit.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But I remember getting picked up from the train station coming back, and I was just sitting in the car with my dad, and mate, I was
destroyed.
I'm not really a crier, and I bawled, mate. I just lost it.
Yeah.
And it was just that level of eating shit from people at the top again.
Completely.
But that was the sad thing is that wasn't the only time. Like,
no.
This is a consistent thing. Like, I've been on a few sets where I could sit here and we could go into stories and I can say this person's bad, or actually this person's bad. But I've seen some people that you would not expect to be so lovely. And then I've seen people who you go, oh, I can't wait to meet. You're really funny. You're a bit of an icon. And you go, oh, you're okay. You're not.
And in a way, it goes back to how we talk about social media, like how we make that quick judgment on someone without even knowing them. And then you've had the, sometimes luxury of meeting them.
Yeah, sometimes. Sometimes. Emphasis on sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. But sometimes it's been a positive experience and sometimes completely disastrous, really. But I think this is why we form such a good relationship, is because throughout my riding career I've had very, very similar experiences of just opportunities like taken away from you, whether that be the horse or owners or just so many different elements of who I was or where I was at that have then prevented me from being able to, I would say, maximize my potential or talent. And you've had so many setbacks as well, but here we are, sat here trying to do something and use all those negative experiences as a positive, and to try and all the closed doors that we had shut in our face, try and go, okay, take that door, use that door, go through that door, that door, that door, and then you're going to make it. So all the next generation behind us can
just a sea of doors.
Yeah, exactly. Have an easier access, because in a way, I sort of look at it. It's like a game, isn't it?
Yeah.
The more, when you step up a level, the more opportunities you take, then you can either stay at that level or you can continue growing.
It's just that continual growth that you have in yourself. I mean, I think if I was to pin it, like ethos-wise, for me, going through these career changes and different elements is, I like most people do, I want to be in a position to give back to my family, first of all, who have been there and supported me through literally everything. But also like my close friends and loved ones around me. I've always wanted to be in a position that I can give back and help other people. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean like, oh, I've got $1 million in the bank, so now you've got 500k and I've got 500k. It's not anything to do with finance, but it's, right, okay, I see that you're struggling in life. How can I use my opportunities to help you?
Yeah.
And it literally
my
goes...
experiences as well, to say, don't make the same mistakes that I did. I think that's such a key point, because not many people want to actually share their experiences on what they've gone through to help the next generation, so they don't make the same mistakes.
Which is why it's a strange thing having this conversation, because it's me opening up about things that, one, I didn't think people want to hear from, and two, it's stuff that I've never really personally addressed or gone back over. Like, it's just been a stepping stone to who I am now, and now like I'm revisiting it. It's like, fuck, okay, well, it makes sense mentally why I'm sort of where I'm at the moment.
Yeah, and why we deal with things the way that we do.
Yeah,
because certain setbacks at such a young age, you're facing the consequences when you're 24, 25 years old.
Yeah,
from experiences that you had when you're 13 years old, because you, at the time, you didn't know how to deal with them or handle them, because you're under so much scrutiny, stress,
put it nice and serious,
stress and pressure, that you just don't know how to handle it. And then it goes back to where this position that we're now sat in, using those experiences to try and help people. It's what we want to do, so you don't go through that isolated. Like, again, referring back to the initial podcast that's just gone out, we've already had a girl that's a similar age to me, another trainer within the industry, wanting to try and set up a mentoring sort of scheme for the next generation of young riders.
Which is amazing,
because she's had the exact same problems that I have within the industry. But unless I went out my way and spoke about them like you've done today, it would have just continued how it was. I'm gonna
have loads of actors message me like, what do you suggest doing? Don't fucking get into acting. That is my word of advice. Don't do it. Just stay away from it. It's not worth it. But yeah, I think fundamentally it just comes down to putting too much pressure on yourself at such a young age. Long term, just enjoy yourself as you go. Exactly. Like, work hard, but just enjoy yourself at the same time.
And I think that's why you forget about it, don't you? You forget to enjoy it when you're doing it, because you want it so much. You don't actually enjoy it when you're doing it.
Well, it's like we've both said, there was a time where we can pinpoint where that love for that died.
Yeah.
And it is that resilience that you have within yourself, you don't, which really is that crossroads point where you have to ask yourself, like, do you want to do this anymore? And that is probably one of the most difficult places you will come to. And everyone will come to that crossroads at some point, whether it be career, relationship, or just a difference of choices of where you think it might change and then move the goalposts for where your life is going to end up. Is you need to weigh it up personally and be honest with yourself and go, why am I here? And what is the best answer for me? But even though that may hurt me now, how is that going to affect me long term? Like, there was so many occasions where I visited those thoughts and I said, do I want to be an actor? No, Mum, I don't want to do this anymore. I've had enough, and I've gone off down. I'm not doing it. I can't be dealing with these people. I don't want to be treated like shit anymore. It's just mentally breaking me down. And then you forget about it, and that's mental resilience. You keep going on, which is great, but then it comes to a point where it can really negatively affect you because you keep going. You need to use that positively, but then you also need to be understanding of when there is enough, like there is a line.
Exactly.
And the day that I said to my dad, I was like, yeah, like I'm not doing this anymore for the time being. Like I'm not doing. That was hard for me because
course.
they've spent financially. It's like it's similar to horse riding, like drama lessons, driving. I used to have a drama teacher, and she was in Worthing. Bear in mind, we're like Sussex, only like an hour. But if you think an hour there, then an hour back,
it's a lot of commitment for your mum and dad.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's a lot of time. Like that you want to. I think my dad calculated it once, like driving like with me and my brother combined to like driving 2 sets and driving to lessons. He'd like driven around the globe twice. Like, I know, which is crazy. So you sort of those are the moments which you also start to think, well, no, I must pursue this career
because of mum and dad.
Because there's people who've invested in me. And I can't let them down.
And I've completely felt the same. Like, again, similar, isn't it? Mum and dad have invested so much time, effort, money into what I want to do.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting there like, I don't want to do this anymore. But how on earth would I even go and speak to my parents?
Had you like ever considered another career other than horses? Because that's what's quite interesting, similar to me, is I
couldn't have no other career. And it's similar to you.
I don't know what I'd have done.
We didn't.
I wouldn't. I've got very poor GCSEs. I don't know what I'm going to go into. I didn't really have a passion or hobby for anything else.
No.
I'll be screwed.
No. Yeah, me too. I was lucky because I managed to turn it round.
Yeah. And
I guess slightly differently, I was still riding at the same time. So I was still always in that industry 24. I was in it 24/7 because, like we say, it's a lifestyle horses, but I couldn't get out of it.
Yeah.
So it was hard. It was really
locked
hard.
in the stable.
But
and that was
yeah, pretty much. You had to be there, but I wanted to be out of it so much. But I was lucky that I managed to turn it around. I don't know how, but it was just more of a journey.
You found an in. Do you know what I mean? You found a way to capitalise on your trade and actually earn from that. Right, and I think that's one of the great things that in your industry, like what you've managed to do, like you can go into different pathways. It almost like branches out.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
How you do that.
It's like that pyramid effect that we talk about.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas me, I was like, I either teach acting or I am an actor, or I'm an extra, and I get up at piss o'clock in the morning and get treated like shit for 13 hours a day on set, and then come back not wanting to do this ever again.
No, of course.
And that was literally where, like, those were my options.
No,
I didn't want to do either of them anymore.
No.
So now I'm here.
Yeah, exactly.
And do you know what? Like, I've never been. You know how they always say like that theory is like life will take you on a journey and it already knows the end goal. Like I do believe you make of what that is, but going back to like everything like happens for a reason. Never before in my life have I truly believed or understood in that.
Yeah,
like circumstances change, things that are such negative. Something comes around because of that. It changes the goalpost.
If you didn't have those experiences and I didn't have those experiences, we would not be sat here now doing what we're trying to do. So
it's mental.
Like we say, most of the bad things that have happened to us are blessings in disguise.
No massive.
Like we've been so lucky to be where we are now with what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
It's just the beginning. So like taking this further now, I guess with all your experiences that you've had, and now you're sat here on an equestrian podcast talking about horses.
Nice one. How the acting has paid off. Chin chin. Nay.
And doing the male equestrian clothing line half step with me. How has your outlook on coming into this industry been? Because obviously I'm in it, so I have some views that are not acceptable, I guess, within the industry, but you're a complete outsider coming into this and you're coming in at such a late date. It'll be so interesting to hear what you thought.
Company should be scared because I have nothing to lose. No, it's interesting. It's there's a lot of similarities to stuff that I've gone through. I think that's why we work so passionately about giving back and helping people. Let's start with that. Do you know what I mean? Like that is what I'm very happy that I'm in this industry. Two, I've met some amazing people, very down to earth, humble and just lovely, rounded people. On the other hand, I've met somewhat similar. Oh my god, this is gonna be so.
Colin,
you're the smart one. Similarly. No, like it's similar. Oh my god! So
move on. Let's
move on. I can't even.
2 hours later, you're still trying.
I'll still be trying it, mate. I've not done my vocal warm-ups.
Gotta go home tonight.
Yeah, exactly. Get there. Who are the equivalent? I somehow matched it with a nicer word. Who are the equivalent? I would say as quite pompous casting directors and producers. They have their in group, and the industry does feel very old-fashioned. It feels very elitist, and it doesn't feel very inclusive. In all honesty, I'm still learning as I go, and I read the comments. I see people say, "Oh no, it's predominantly a male industry. It's predominantly a female industry," but it goes right. Okay, where's the bridge? Like, from what I've learned is it's a dominated male industry, for example, but at the top, and then everything underneath is women.
Yeah,
and then people kick off because they're like, "What are you saying? All the representation is from the men." I'm like, okay, well, first of all, if it needs to be inclusive, the top riders need to be appreciated as women as well.
Yeah.
But then on the bottom, you need to appreciate that there is an issue where men aren't joining this sport.
No, because funny you should say that. There's been talk about the Olympics of it being split into sections because obviously
you'd have to explain the Equestrian Olympics.
The equestrian world, it's the only sport that male and female compete against each other at the Olympics. Only sport. So because of this apparent reason that it's male dominated at the top level, there's talk that they're going to split it into sections of doing a male equestrian Olympics and a female. So you've got an even number. Do you get me? So instead of 20 men and 10 women in a class of 30, you'd have 15 men and 15 women competing separately and individually. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but why?
Because they're trying to say it needs to be more inclusive. Like,
so they're going to make it more inclusive by separating the men and the women.
Yeah, because I guess people's argument to that is it a good thing that men and women compete against each other, or is it a bad thing?
I mean, having done absolutely no research on it, I feel like
throwing you in the deep end there, mate.
Yeah,
sorry.
Wow, cheers. As a rider, from what I've seen from you ride and seeing other people that have come, like for example, people that have come and tested the product and seeing people ride, that there is a lot of skill, talent, and almost a bond between you and your horse.
It's a feeling,
to be able to control an animal like that. So respect, no matter your gender, respect that you have the balls to go and do that.
Yeah.
Because I tell you now, nah, I'm okay. I'll stick to my feet on the ground. But I also feel like the majority or 90% of going to the Olympics or that sport is done by how the horse is trained, what the horse's genetics are. Yeah. So even though, yes, the rider has a lot to do,
gender doesn't really come into play.
It's the horse.
Yeah, exactly.
The rider can be shit whether it's male or female. So
well, they can be good whether it's male or female. As well,
exactly. So what does it make? By the sounds of it, that sounds like a stupid idea, and it is either furthering the problem of segregating the sport and making it less inclusive, if anything. And they're trying to mask that by saying that it is inclusive. So if anything, they are backdating it, but they're backdating it with the excuse of they are bringing it up to date.
Doesn't make sense.
That doesn't make sense.
No.
Is that somewhat right? No, does that make sense? I don't know if that's a fair point.
In my opinion, I don't think anyone could have summed it up better. I think that is the perfect.
I could probably think of a few people. To be fair.
But I think that's a perfect summary of it, really, because, like you say, from what your experiences in the industry, it is becoming. And again, I can talk from being in it.
Yeah.
But having you alongside me and your outlook on it has definitely helped me realise that I wasn't the odd one out.
Yeah.
The industry was wrong for not being as inclusive as it should be. Sorry. And having you there alongside me to open my eyes, that has been brilliant because it's enabled me to do things like this and try and help other people that have felt the same.
Yeah, we can ruin your career at the same time. We can do it all in one doing that. I ruin mine. Just come down with me. The ship's sinking. Might as well swim. But I also don't see, and correct me if I'm wrong on this. Like, I don't see a lot of different backgrounds, different ethnicities.
No,
I
don't see much from the Bain community.
I mean, we we're in a very sort of privileged countryside,
and we've got a really exciting interview coming up that hopefully should cover that topic soon.
Yeah. Oh, to be fair, completely. I forgot about that, but I don't.
We won't give away too much details just yet.
No, but that's another thing. Like, I don't see. I couldn't see someone from a council estate, like mid London, going and riding a horse. I'd absolutely love to, because I feel like, having seen what they can do, like, it's a mental timeout. Do you know what I mean? It's almost like a level of peace. I think that'd be amazing. I want to see people from all classes, all backgrounds come in. But you asking what my opinion is, I feel like currently people won't come into the industry because it feels too elitist.
Yeah, of course.
And it is, in all honesty.
Yeah, it is. And I guess if I ask you now, before you had anything to do with horses, what was your opinion on horsey people? What would that be?
Posh twat.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
that is the perception.
That is the stereotype.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
But the industry has accepted that, and that's what we give across. Whereas that's the funny thing. It's far from it. Most of the horsey people are the most hardworking people that are literally scraping paycheck to paycheck to look after the horse, and they would do anything to look after their horse. They would give up everything they had to look after that horse.
Yeah.
But it's how the industry portrays itself.
Why would an industry want to give that?
I don't know.
It's silly, because, like, growing up, like, and this thing, like, the stereotypes mainly come from, like, oh, she's a horse girl. She's a horsey girl. Do you know what I mean? Like, so it's always a weird. She. It's always, well, first of all, it's always a she.
Yeah.
I don't hear, oh, he's a horsey guy. I don't think I've ever heard that. But then also, from a male perspective, if another bloke was to ride a horse, like, yeah, especially when I was growing up younger, I wouldn't stereotype it now, but when I was younger, and the majority of people, I think, by the sounds of it, who leave this career or leave this hobby because they feel embarrassed by it. They drop out of it, not in their 20s, where it's actually getting difficult as, like, being an adult and alongside a career. They drop out of it when it is a hobby because of either being bullied or they're embarrassed of the stereotypes that the industry is allowing to continue on. So for a guy, I wouldn't hear, like, oh, he's a horsey guy. And if you did, wrongly so, you'd presume, you'd assume their sexuality, you'd sort of assume them as a person, their class, all of these negative stereotypes. Like, I'm sure that when I was younger, automatically comes to your head, because that is society's perception of that one specific thing. Very different now I'm older and I've got a bit more knowledge and being in this. But then there's that complete other side to it, that there was a comment on one of your TikToks, I remember reading that, and it's rightly so, like, in Texas, like, it's the foundation of being a man is riding a horse.
And it's funny how it differs country to country, because...
How much does it differ, though?
From the feedback that we have got, it seems that America is, like, place in America, it starts to seem really manly, but over here, we have the perception that it's a girl sport. And again, going back to feedback that we've had from the initial podcast, we've had people comment that their son, age 9, is getting bullied already for riding horses. And then up to, I've had a 15-year-old guy message me saying thank you again, because us talking about what we did in the initial episode has made him want to continue and just ignore the bullying that he's getting for it. So
that's amazing.
And this is exactly why we want to do this, is to try and help people in that situation. But yeah, it's weird how, like, it differs in each country or each state even.
Yeah, I mean, when you say, like, the amount of people that have messaged you on how we're helping them, I'm linking it, and this isn't sort of like a free promo ad, like, but with Half Step and what we're doing with the clothing, like, there was that one message that really stuck out to me, where someone got in touch with us and they didn't even realise we was doing the clothing at the time, and they said they've got a young son gets bullied for horse riding, but on top of that also gets bullied for wearing female clothes.
Yeah. And didn't have a male role model either.
No. And so, first of all, that for me coming into the industry was quite. It was hard to hear.
Yeah, and eye-opening.
It was eye-opening, but it was hard to hear because I think he was autistic as well.
Yeah.
I've worked as a domiciliary nurse. I've worked with people with special needs. I've worked with the elderly. And it's horrible, the idea, like, breaching those. Like, you ever just think of a kid getting bullied and you feel, like, sad for them automatically, like, why the fuck am I getting sad? This is imaginary in my head. And I heard that, and the fact on top of that he's having to wear female clothes because there's probably tons of male clothing out there, but they look outdated, they're boring, and the sizing's completely wrong. Yeah. So people just resolve themselves to wearing female clothes.
And it goes back to, again, with Half Step, that we want it not just to be a clothing brand, we want it to be a community and bring people the same experiences together so that they can, instead of feeling isolated,
it's exactly what we've always said.
Yeah.
What we are doing here is a movement and it's not an organisation.
No.
And that is the difference between business and life. I feel like there's a very fine line, and we're sort of walking on the edge of, we are putting ourselves out there to not be afraid to piss people off, companies off, and pretty much the industry. I kind of get a kick out of it, in all honesty, so I don't care. It's more impressive that you've put yourself in a position to do that, to give people a voice of these and on these topics.
Yeah, and we wanted to create a platform for riders to come on and talk about their experiences to help that next generation. At the end of the day, it's too late for me in a way, really, now. I've had my bad experiences, but if we can help the younger generation come through in some way, that's exactly why we're doing it.
Yeah.
But like you say, I've had to realise that, you know what, I can't keep accepting what's going on with the industry. I've got a love and a passion for it. But
it must be painful for you to watch.
Yeah,
you grew
exactly.
Up in it.
But again, I always felt I was the outsider. Like, I felt it was my fault rather than the industry's fault. Whereas now, being older, and again, I completely always put it back to you, coming into my life and making me look at it in a different way, shouldn't feel like that. No other guy should feel like that. No, and I say guy, no other female rider should feel it. No one should feel like it in the industry that they're outsider because of their upbringing or where they come from or who they are. No. So that's what we're trying to do. That is really, really what we're trying to do. And today we've talked a lot, really. It's been quite a depressive conversation, really.
Sorry, mate. I'll sit here and I'm on the other side and I give the gags every so often.
I don't know what's worse, being the interviewee or the interviewer. So,
it's weird when we're both doing it. We've not got a guest. It's
exactly.
So much easier doing
Basically,
it the other
we've
side.
sat here for an hour having a depressive conversation. But hopefully it might help people along the way. But
well, that's the most important thing that you can get from it.
Exactly. From what you know now and the journey that you've been on, if you had any advice for your younger self, what would that be?
Oh, is this going to become an absolute theme?
It seems the theme of the podcast so far.
Asking people what their advice is.
I can put you on the back foot now rather than the other way around.
You must absolutely love that. I would say, don't see rejection as a negative.
No.
Rejection is a stepping stone to success. There are moments where I find myself now where I don't think I'd have the mindset and the ability to get through some of the hard times if I hadn't experienced those previous in life. So when you're faced with challenges, when you are at your lowest, define yourself there. Because I promise you, your future self will be thanking you. And just keep going.
Yeah. I don't think you could have summed that up much better, man. Well, look, it's been brilliant talking to you. Like, we haven't even touched half of what I wanted to go through, but I hope people listening at home can relate to what we've spoken about, and I hope, again, what we've discussed can help people, and that's why we're doing it. And yeah,
I'm sorry for anyone in the equestrian industry who's just had to listen to a non-horsey person talk. For
no, but it goes back to all your experiences are so relatable to the industry. So thank you for being so open, because I'm sure it will help people that have been listening today. So thank you so much to everyone who's watched this episode. Look, we've got some really exciting interviews coming up that will be out soon. So please subscribe and keep your eyes out for what's coming. Only Tools and Horses are out. Oh.